So, Secretary Kristi Noem, DHS, is about to give an update right here in Manhattan. She's going to be at One World Trade along with these other officials here. There's Tom Homan seen on the right-hand side. An agent right here in New York City, major security incident shot over the weekend. Whole lot of eyeballs on this to follow what is coming next here in New York City and across the country.
Sorry, Jillian. The agent hit in the face and the forearm, transported to a hospital, currently in stable condition. This is Kristi Noem. Let's go ahead and drop in as it begins.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kristi Noem. I'm the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, and we just recently, in the last couple of days, have had one of our own that has been attacked and has been harmed and dangerously by violent criminals that have been run loose here in New York City, but also in this country, as a result of sanctuary city policies and the policies of the Biden administration. I just want you all to know that we have our hearts and our prayers going out with our officer and with his family and his friends, and we'll be lifting him up in prayer for his quick recovery and his healing from this terrible tragedy that has befallen him. Listen, our officer was off duty on Saturday evening when him and his friend were attacked. They were attacked by two individuals that were set on robbing them, and thankfully he had his service weapon with him and was able to defend himself and his friend and injured one of those individuals that was trying to do them harm. His quick action speaks to his tenacity and his excellence in training and skill, and because of that, one of the perpetrators was wounded in this interaction and was incarcerated when he came in to get medical treatment. One of the suspected attackers, the one that was injured, his name is Miguel Francisco Mora Nunez, a Dominican national that was entering into this country illegally back in 2023. He was then released back into this country by the Biden administration. Miguel Francisco Mora Nunez is and has a rap sheet that is a mile long. He was arrested. He was charged with grand larceny and also assault. The state of Massachusetts has an active warrant out for him for armed robbery with a firearm. He also has many other charges against him, such as kidnapping and witness intimidation. There's absolutely zero reason that someone who is scum of the earth like this should be running loose on the streets of New York City. He was arrested 4 different times in New York City, and because of the mayor's policies and sanctuary city policies, was released back to do harm to people and to individuals living in this city. Make no mistake, this officer is in the hospital today fighting for his life because of the policies of the mayor of this city and the city council and the people that were in charge of keeping the public safe. They refused to do so, and now we have the situation on our hand where someone who has dedicated their lives to protecting the public is now fighting for his own. I'm calling on every single mayor and sanctuary city and sanctuary governor to change their policies and to change their tactics right now. Their job is to take an oath to protect the public, to protect families that are out there every single day trying to provide for each other and to try to live the American dream, and they want to do so safely in their own communities. How many more lives will it take? How many more people have to be hurt and victimized before we have public safety be a #1 priority in some of our largest cities? When I look at what Mayor Adams has done to New York City, it breaks my heart to see the families that have suffered because of his policies. We can look across this country at other mayors. We look at Mayor Wu in Boston and what has happened there under her watch. What's happened in L.A. with the riots and the violence and the protests that have gone on because of Mayor Bass and what she has perpetuated. When you look at Mayor Johnson in Chicago and how devastating it is to live in that city and some of those poorest communities, how they suffer every single day with the violence that's in front of them, just because these individuals are protecting criminals. They're protecting criminals who go out and murder, rape, rob. They perpetuate violence on our children. They traffic them and drugs and damage this country every single day under the protection of sanctuary city and governors who put in place these policies that allow them to perpetuate these crimes with no consequences. What I would say is today, my hope is that this would wake up these individuals, and they would recognize that they can't keep letting these dangerous criminals go free. They can't continue to let these individuals be brought in for crimes they're committing against the public and then releasing them right back onto the streets with no consequences whatsoever. Fortunately for us today, our officer survived. He survived. He's going through a very difficult time, and I would ask that you respect him and his family and his friend who was with him and what they have gone through. But I would also say that we can't guarantee that the next victim of these dangerous criminals will be treated the same or will be able to get through this dangerous situation. We were able to bring the second individual in and have detained him as well, and he will face consequences and hopefully strong prosecution for his crimes and his involvement on Saturday night. But my hope is that we can continue to, when ICE is out in our communities and they're lodging detainers against individuals that are in this country illegally perpetuating crimes, that we would have a city like New York City start to honor them and allow us to bring these criminals to justice, allow them to get them out of our communities so that they can't continue to hurt people like we saw on Saturday night. We still have a lot of work to do. We've seen violence against our officers go up over 830% just in recent days because of the rhetoric out of politicians and the rhetoric out of individuals who are letting this victimization go on and on against the public. So I would call on everybody today to recognize what can happen, how in one moment someone's life can change, their whole family can change. And it is happening every day across this country. And this officer and his family, while today they are suffering, they still continue to serve the public and recognize that they want to go back out and make sure that they're doing all that they can to uphold the rule of law in this country. We're doing everything in our power to make sure that our officers out on the streets have the equipment and the training and the resources and the backup that they need to do their jobs, but they should never have to deal with an individual who was arrested 4 different times for violating the law and then released. And that individual was released on the streets of the city because of Mayor Bass's policies and because of his city council's policies and because of politicians who talk big and then people get hurt. People get hurt, and in many cases they end up losing their lives. Let's hope that that's never true and that today is the day that those policies change and people get the courage to make sure they're making the decisions that actually do protect people going forward. We're going to bring the perpetuators of violence to justice. President Trump has promised that for the American people, and he's going to follow through on it. I'll do all that I can, and I'm so grateful to have partners like Rodney Scott with me from Border Patrol and Protection, and also with Tom Homan as the borders are. We'll continue to work to make sure that we're dealing with the violence that we see on our streets, but we also recognize that here in these sanctuary cities, it's much more dangerous because of the politicians who aren't taking responsibility for what they're doing. They're setting the American people up to become victims of crime, and it has to stop today. I'd ask you all to keep our law enforcement officers in your prayers, their families, as they face the environment that they do every day while they do their job. This officer wasn't even on the job. He was out enjoying a beautiful evening with a friend of his and was a victim of crime, and it ended up with him mortally and seriously wounded, and he is going to, because of the great care of the doctors that are taking care of him today, pull through. But our prayers are going to be with him and his family as they work their way through this situation. With that, I will turn it over to Rodney Scott, who is the Commissioner of our Customs and Border Protection.
Thank you for being here. Thank you, Madam Secretary, for all the support that you've given us and the support you're showing our officers today and the comments that you just made. My name is Rodney Scott. I'm currently the Commissioner of United States Customs and Border Protection. But as I talk, I want you to remember that I was also the Chief of the United States Border Patrol until 2021. I want to really start by thanking the medical personnel here in New York City at the hospital, the EMS workers, and even the guys behind me in blue that have shown tremendous support to our officer and to his family as well. We should not be here today. The reason these 2 assailants are inside the United States today is because of failed border policies by the Biden administration. I personally warned the Biden administration against their open border policies in 2021. I was ignored, and exactly what I predicted, many of us predicted, happened. Total chaos along the border. These 2 individuals, the 2 assailants, were released into the United States after being apprehended because of failed policies. President Trump stepped up and fixed those failed policies on January 20th of this year. With the support from Secretary Noem, we now have one of the most secure, we have the most secure border that I've ever seen in my entire lifetime. Much of that resolution was by fixing failed policies based on facts and evidence. Sanctuary city policies across this nation and some of these, and even states in some cases, are failed policies. The facts and evidence are there in front of you. It's time for local leadership and state leadership to step up to the plate like President Trump did, acknowledge crime as crime, acknowledge the fact that there's no global information system where we can vet these people coming into the United States. We do not know who they are, and we have to have border security where we simply know and control who and what enters our country, just like we do our homes. This should not be political. I'm calling on all state and local leaders to step up to the plate, get rid of these sanctuary city laws, and simply enforce the laws on the books. Work with your federal agencies so that we can actually root out these criminals from our neighborhoods. Last but not least, I should have said this up front, thoughts and prayers for our officer and his family, and I would ask that you keep them in your thoughts and prayers as well. Thank you for your time, but please remember this. This was 100% preventable. It was caused by bad policy, and it can be fixed with good policy. Thank you.
I visited the officer last night. Of course, he was heavily sedated, so I didn't have words with him, but I did talk to his family. They're devastated. It's just a shock to the soul when you walk in and see that young man laying there. Secretary said it, Rodney said it, sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. Hard stop. I've been doing this since 1984. I've never seen a situation where I see it today. New York City, how many times do you want to see NYPD attacked by illegal alien criminals in this city? Now a federal officer. How many citizens in this city have been attacked by illegal aliens in this city? You see the polls. Everybody agrees we should be arresting public safety threat illegal aliens, but you got a city council here that locked us out of Rikers Island. Are you kidding me? So an illegal alien in Rikers Island we can't talk to, we don't have access to. That makes the city unsafe. Every sanctuary city is unsafe. I'll say it again, sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. And I'm going to work very hard with Secretary Noem to keep President Trump's promise and his commitment several weeks ago that sanctuary cities are now our priority. We're going to flood the zone. You don't want to let us into jail to arrest a bad guy in the safety and security of a jail. You want to release him into the street, which makes it unsafe for the community, makes it unsafe for the officer, makes it unsafe for the alien. Because anything can happen on a street arrest. So what we're going to do, we'll have more agents in New York City to look for that bad guy. So sanctuary cities get exactly what they don't want, more agents in the community and more agents in the work site. If we can't arrest a bad guy in the safety and security of the county jail, then we'll arrest him in the community, and we'll arrest him in the jail. And when we arrest him in the community, if he's with others that are in the country illegally, they're coming too. Sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. President Trump is not going to tolerate it. And I'll work every day with Secretary Noem to make sure we get as many bad guys, illegal aliens out of this country that we can. And I want to say one more thing. I'm sick and tired of reading in the media every day how ICE is not doing what the Trump administration has promised, that we're not arresting criminals, that most of the people we arrest are not criminals. I look at the numbers every day. The numbers I looked at the other day, 130,000 arrests and 90,000 criminals. Do the math, that's 70%. And who are the others? Others are those who have final orders, who had due process at great taxpayer expense. A federal judge ordered them removed, so ICE's job is to remove them. Who are the rest of the people? National security threats. Under Secretary Noem's leadership, they've arrested several hundred Iranian nationals. National security threats. They may not have a criminal conviction, but they need to be detained. They need to be arrested and taken off the streets of this country. Then I read another story about how most people in ICE detention aren't criminals. Now the story is, how bad of a criminal they have to be. I saw a story the other day. Only 1% of the illegal aliens removed were murderers. Are you kidding me? Being in the country illegally is not illegal anymore? You got to commit a murder to be deported? If you look at ICE detention, I'll say it again. Look at detention. Who's in detention? I look at the numbers this morning. A majority are criminals, have criminal history. Who are the rest? Final order cases, who a judge ordered removed. The others are expedited removal. By federal statute, demands they be detained. So for the media out there, let's try telling the truth about the men and women of ICE and the men and women of the Border Patrol. I wore that uniform. I was an ICE agent. These are the finest men and women in this country that put their lives on the line every day for this country. I buried Border Patrol agents. I buried ICE agents. Luckily, thank God, we're not burying one today. Enough. I love the men and women of ICE. I love the men and women of the Border Patrol. They're finally doing the job they took an oath to do, and they got a great leadership of Secretary Noem, who's going to enforce the law without apology. I appreciate your leadership, man. That's all.
Good morning. Diane Sabatino, Acting Executive Assistant Commissioner, Office of Field Operations. First, I certainly want to express my heartfelt thanks to Secretary Noem, Commissioner Scott, and Border Czar Homan for the incredible support they have demonstrated for the New York Field Office of Field Operations the last couple of days. You know, it is a tragic scenario to get a phone call about an officer, any CBP, Customs and Border Protection employee, that's injured in the line of duty. It was even more tragic, this individual off duty. You know, they picked the wrong guy in this particular case, two assailants, you know, just a crime of opportunity. Unfortunately, and I apologize, I'm a bit overwhelmed. I saw the officer this morning, and having met him before and seeing how challenged our officers are in taking care of each other during this hard time. But just to get back to what I was saying, they picked the wrong individual to try to rob. And thank God, when we invest in our CBP officers, we invest in training, we invest in vigilance 24/7. Our officers and our agents stand watch 24/7 on the front line of the United States of America. And we'll take action, and we'll demonstrate that vigilance and dedication at any opportunity.
Morning, everyone. My name is Frank Russo. I'm the Director of Field Operations for U.S. Customs and Border Protection in the New York Field Office. We sit on a historical site. This building, One World Trade Center, sits on the very footprint of our old Custom House. We were here from 1973 until 9/11. The memorial fountains that sit outside this window remind us of the attacks on 9/11. We have employees who were here for the first attack in 1993. They were here for the attack on 9/11, and they're back again. Our officer who was attacked on Saturday night embodies all the courage and resiliency of all our employees in CBP who are here in the New York Field Office. And our hearts are with him and his family as he recovers. And we ask that you all pray with us for his quick recovery. These acts, as the Secretary, Commissioner, Assistant Commissioner, Mr. Homan mentioned, should not have happened. And we need your help to make sure that they don't happen again. We thank you all for being here. I want to thank the Secretary, Border Czar Homan, Commissioner Scott, Assistant Commissioner Sabatino, and our partners at HSI and ERO for supporting us during these difficult times. Thank you, everyone.
Again, we want to continue to lift up this family and our officer in our prayers. We're thinking of him and had the opportunity to visit with them this morning. They're doing well, but they do appreciate the outreach that they've had from the city, from all of the different agencies, the nonprofits that have reached out and have been willing to help them and walk alongside of them. But they also recognize, when I asked them if there was anything that they needed, they said, go after these criminals. One of the things he would have appreciated the most is if you doubled down on these bad guys that perpetuate crimes like these and even use these mopeds to commit their crimes and are well known for using them throughout the city to go out and to rob poor innocent people who are out enjoying an evening on the town with their family members. So we will continue to take that encouragement to go after criminals in this country, and especially those who have perpetuated acts like this that shouldn't be here and should never have been here. I want to remind you that this individual had been arrested 4 different times before this act happened on Saturday night. Arrested and released again and again and again. And what did we think was going to happen from policies like that? When you take a dangerous individual and you allow them to never face any consequences for the acts that they're perpetuating against the public, and then you end up in a situation that could have been prevented. So we're lifting that family up in prayer. We're going to walk alongside them, but also we're going to double down and make sure that these criminal, illegal aliens are not only off our streets, but they're out of our country. And that once again, America can be a country where the rule of law matters, where the laws apply to everyone equally, and never once is an illegal alien put above an American citizen or their safety and their opportunity to have the American dream. So with that, we'll open it up to any questions that you may have. Yes, sir.
If you could talk about, what you plan to do here in New York, talking about ramping up some of that enforcement, and two, how do you make this push to get more ICE agents? I saw on social media the push to get back some folks who may have retired, folks who know how to do that work. What's it going to take to get those?
Yeah, we've already had some retired agents that have indicated they'd like to come back and help. They love the opportunity to come back and work for an agency that's allowed to do its job. Under this administration, President Trump is allowing our ICE and our CBP officers, our law enforcement officers, to do their jobs again, and that's reinvigorating them and their desire to want to be a part of a team where someone's got their backs. What we'll do in a city like this is we'll double down. We'll put more agents here. We'll put more personnel here. We'll give them more equipment, more training for situations where they may have to go into a dangerous neighborhood where local law enforcement won't be there to have their backs. And we'll continue to talk to the public about the truth of what we're doing. The media has lied over and over and over again about what President Trump has given us as direction to do in this country when it comes to criminal illegal aliens. We have prioritized them. They are our targets. We're going to go after those individuals that are perpetuating crimes in our country and remove them and get them out and have them face consequences for what they're doing. So what you will see when you have a mayor like this, a city council like this, that's allowing their people to be victimized, is that we will follow through on our promises. We'll put more people here, more agents, more resources, and we'll have more federal agencies deployed in task force models so that they can go out and do their operations and do them safely. Yes, sir.
Terry, on targeting violent people, Mr. Holman just said we're going to flood the community, and if there are people in the country illegally not accused of crimes, we'll pick them up too. We've seen outside immigration court here in New York City, people still with pending green card claims, pending asylum claims are grabbed right outside of court. So my question is this. I understand you say you're targeting mostly violent people. Are you not undercutting your own argument when you arrest those others?
Absolutely not. What we're doing is we're targeting those individuals that are perpetuators of crimes in this country, those who have final removal orders, those who have undergone due process and are needing to be removed from this country. We will do that. The biggest problem we have here in this city is that they don't honor our detainers, is that they're releasing people out of the court system, out of jails, and we have detainers against them, and local law enforcement isn't cooperating with us to honor those so that we can get these individuals off the streets. So we're going to continue to do that work every day, but it would be much safer for law enforcement, much safer for the public, if we could do it in partnership with local law enforcement. And we do that across the country. In so many states, we have agreements with city police, with sheriffs, with local law enforcement who partner with us to make sure our officers can be safe while they do this work, and we can clean up communities that are victims of crime. Unfortunately, here in New York City, it's a different situation, because here people play politics and then you have innocent people get hurt, and that shouldn't happen anymore. Yes, ma'am.
So many of those arrests,
yes, ma'am,
not accused of criminals, if law enforcement, not accused of crimes, local law enforcement cooperate, that's what you're saying?
It depends on if you're talking about those who have charges against them, those who have pending charges, those who have final removal orders. Those all continue to be our focus as well. Go ahead. Yes.
Yesterday we learned the suspect, Miguel Francisco Mora Nunez, was once deported and then re-entered the country illegally through the Arizona border sector. Can you explain how and why that was able to happen?
Well, if you look at what happened during the Biden administration, which is when he entered this country, was that basically anyone who crossed the border was granted an asylum and given a notice to appear in court, and he never did. Never showed up, of course, which was happened with millions of individuals who came into our country. And that's the task that we now have under the Trump administration, is cleaning up the ramifications of that invasion of our country. Remember, people came to this country through an open border and those policies that were terrorists, suspected terrorists, people who were violent criminals from across the world, individuals who were emptied out of prisons and mental institutions, and they came to this country, and Joe Biden and his administration just opened the door and let them flood in. The individuals that perpetuated this crime and violence against our law enforcement officer on Saturday night and his friend were two of those exact same type of individuals that crossed the border under those policies. They shouldn't have been here. They had been arrested in the past and released again I'm thankful we have a president now who's not going to allow that to happen anymore. Yes, sir.
The arrest of the second suspect, what's his immigration status?
He's an illegal in this country as well. And so he has been brought in. Excuse me?
Can you tell us more about when he was detained?
He was detained earlier today and was brought in. It's a case that we will continue to work, but he was a part of this robbery on Saturday night, and hopefully he will face full consequences for being a part of that.
Under Biden also.
He did. They both entered under Joe Biden's policies. And we're grateful for the work of our HSI individuals who were able to go out there and partner with other agencies to bring him in this morning. Yes, sir.
Are there going to be any federal consequences for, I mean, you clearly laid the blame at the feet of our mayor and our legislature.
And your city council.
And our city council.
Yes.
Are there going to be any federal consequences for courts that continue to release migrants who are not only here illegally, but have committed or are charged with committing violent predicate felonies?
Well, I just want them to know that we will use every tool at our disposal that we have the authority to under the federal government to bring safety to the people of New York City and to other sanctuary cities across this country. One thing I would encourage the public to do is to continue to speak out for safety, for the ability to walk their kids to school in the morning, for the ability to sleep at home at night safely and not have to worry about violent crime happening right outside of their doorsteps. I've been here in the city several times doing different operations with our ICE officers, with HSI officers, and it's amazing to me how you can be out on the street early in the morning while we're incarcerating many of these individuals who perpetuate violent crimes, and the citizens who live in those neighborhoods walk by us and they say, "Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for helping us. Nobody would help us, and we've had to live like this for years. Thank you for giving us the chance to be able to walk down our street again without having to worry about who's going to attack us, who might hurt our children, or what might happen to our small business today." That's our mission every day, is to make sure that we're not going to do what Joe Biden did or what these sanctuary politicians do. They decide who has to be a victim and who doesn't be a victim when they pick and choose who they're going to uphold the law against and who they're not going to. And many times their policies have treated illegal criminals better than they have U.S. citizens. It's wrong and it needs to stop. And this situation on Saturday night where our officer was shot and wounded and hurt and is in the ICU right now in the hospital fighting for his life, that had to happen because it shouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened if we would have had the right leadership in the city. Yes.
Hi, I'm Noem with the New York Times. I'm curious, which sanctuary city policies do you think would have prevented this from happening? And was there an ICE detainer for the man who was arrested?
I can't speak directly if there was an ICE detainer out against this individual right at this time, but he had been arrested 4 different times, had several charges against him. If you remember, I spoke about his charges in Massachusetts as well. For kidnapping. He had charges against him for larceny. This individual should have been deported and never been in this country. And that is one of the individuals that should have been prosecuted for his crimes. And then he would have been on our radar and we would have been able to remove him.
And if I could, there was a detainer. Yes. But the issue, as the Secretary said, he was arrested at least 3 or 4 times by NYPD. But they're not allowed to work with ICE on your sanctuary city policies. That's what the Secretary's getting to. Cops should be working with the cops. This should be a nonpartisan issue. Cops working with the cops to keep New York safe. We're not asking them to be immigration officers. We're asking them to help us remove public safety threat illegal aliens from this country. But NYPD is not allowed to do that, and that's exactly what happened in this case.
Have you spoken with Mayor Adams about this, and what was his response?
We have spoken with him about the policies before and asked him to change those policies. There's times that the NYPD, and I believe that's still in place, that if one of our officers is in jeopardy, they're still backing us up on that, but not doing operations with us, which does happen in many other cities and other jurisdictions. We wish we had that kind of partnership with Mayor Adams, and I know you guys have got a leadership election in this country or in this city that's going to be happening soon. Boy, start looking at the candidates today and see which one is going to start making this city safer, because you've got a mayor today that could have done better, and maybe he'd have more support today if he'd have put his people first.
If you look at Commander Shell of NYPD, did an op-ed last night that I read, and I saw him doing an interview this morning. He's got 4 decades NYPD. Even he spoke up, said this should never have happened. NYPD should be working with ICE on criminal aliens.
I heard you endorse any of the candidates for mayor.
No, that's not what we're here today about. We're here today to focus on our officer, his family, and to make sure that everybody understands that this didn't have to happen and that we want more cooperation out of local law enforcement so that we can get dangerous, criminal, illegal aliens off of our streets. Who's talking? Yes, sir.
I see Mr. Clayton here. You intended to take this case federal. Jay, would you like to start?
Let me say two things.
This has been a remarkable press conference, just for the seriousness and the tone by which these officials are addressing this Border Patrol agent off duty, shot in the face around midnight on Saturday night. A couple of things we learned, Jillian. He had been arrested 4 times in New York City, has a record in the state of Massachusetts as well. The other suspect, there were 2 of them on that moped trying to commit this robbery.
Right.
He has since been arrested. Kristi Noem said he's got a rap sheet a mile long calling on every mayor and governor in America to protect the public, and specifically calling out the sanctuary city and sanctuary state policies.
Tom Homan at the end talking about, cops need to be able to work with cops in this city, across the country. Reminder, Bill, that it was just Friday. We were talking and reporting on how violence targeting ICE officers is at more than 800% right now.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, this speaks to that. This is a sort of anecdotal evidence of that statistic.
So the agent's name, agent's name has not been released. He's being treated. He's in the ICU as we speak, shot in the face, and a remarkable moment, because you could sense that they were stunned by the fact that he survived this, which is the best news of all for the moment.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.